I stood quietly, watching as the man, my wife's hidden lover, strode boldly through the front gate of the house I built, each step landing with smug confidence on the stone path I'd laid with my own hands. He had no clue that just past that threshold, a trap had been perfectly laid in wait for him. "You really need to hear this," Mark said, leaning back in his chair with a smirk that never quite touched his eyes. His tone was calm, but beneath it ran something sharp and unsettling. "Remember how everyone thought Lucas and Alina were the dream couple? Like something straight out of a high-end lifestyle magazine," he began. "Lucas had it all. The charm that could warm the coldest room and a job managing luxury resorts in Santorini. And then there was Alina. She didn't just walk into a gallery, she commanded it. Beauty, grace, that rare elegance that made conversations pause the moment she entered a room." Mark's gaze sharpened as he continued. "They had the kind of life people envy. Weekends on private yachts, cliffside dinners by candlelight, spontaneous getaways to Mykonos. And Lucas, he was head over heels. Whenever he talked about her, it was like she cast a spell over him." He paused. "But things changed. Not suddenly. Not with fireworks or shouting. It started quiet, like a crack forming under polished marble." His fingers tapped gently on the edge of the table. "It began with the small stuff. Alina growing distant, always on her phone during dinner. Zoned out, emotionally checked out. Lucas told himself it was work pressure. He gave her space, trusted her. That was his first mistake, ignoring his gut when it screamed something was wrong." Mark lowered his voice, almost to a whisper. One night, heavy rain hammering the windows, Lucas had just finished cleaning up after making her favorite meal. Alina came in late, again. Said there was a last-minute event at the gallery. She barely looked at him, kissed him like a stranger, then floated upstairs. Routine by that point. But then, Lucas noticed something. Her wet trench coat, tossed carelessly aside. He picked it up, and in the pocket, he felt a piece of paper. Just a receipt. Harmless, at first glance. But to Lucas, that little slip of paper felt like a live grenade. Mark's face darkened at the memory. It was from the Doloqua Hotel, one of the most exclusive places in Athens. Dated 3 nights earlier, the exact night she said she'd been working late. Lucas said it felt like the floor dropped out beneath him. But he didn't confront her. Not right away. He was too careful. A single receipt wasn't enough. He needed the full truth. So he waited, Mark said coldly. Then one weekend, while Alina was away at a yoga retreat, he opened her laptop. His hands had trembled so badly he had to grip the desk just to keep himself steady. For 30 minutes, everything looked normal. Emails, invoices, nothing suspicious. Until he found a message thread between Alina and someone named Leon. At first, it looked innocent, discussions about lighting for an exhibit. But then, the tone shifted. Casual banter turned flirty, then intimate. And then came the gut punch, a message from Leon. "Last night was unforgettable. I keep playing it over in my mind." Alina had replied, "Same. I can't stop thinking about Friday." Mark looked away, jaw clenched. Lucas said he stared at the screen for hours. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just sat there, frozen, numb. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal. It was realizing the life he believed in was fiction. But Lucas didn't rage. He went quiet, focused, cold, dangerous. Mark took a slow sip from his drink and leaned in. And Lucas wasn't the only one who got hit with betrayal. "I had my own reckoning." He paused. "You never think your life's going to change on a regular, rainy Tuesday. But it did." That's when Enro walked in, soaked from head to toe, hair tangled, eyes distant, like her soul had left the room. He didn't say a word. just kept cleaning up the dining area. That's when he picked up her coat. His fingers brushed against something stiff in the pocket. Another receipt. Mark's voice turned hollow. This one was from the Avani Hotel in Berlin. Dated the exact night she claimed she had to stay late at the gallery. My chest tightened so hard, I thought I was about to collapse. But he said nothing. He quietly slid the receipt into his wallet and got into bed next to her that night, watching her sleep peacefully, like nothing had happened. Staring at the ceiling, thoughts gnawing at his mind like rats in the dark. His tone grew heavier. In the days that followed, the signs just kept piling up. Her phone, always glued to her hand. One-word answers. Empty smiles. More and more gallery events popping up on the calendar like decoys. He shook his head slightly. I couldn't fake it anymore. I was sharing my home with a stranger. I needed the truth, Mark said quietly, drawing in a slow breath. The kind that tells you the pain has long since settled into something colder. Determined. One morning, after Nora left for what she claimed was a client meeting, I sat down at her laptop. My fingers shook as I typed in her password. At first, everything looked routine. Then, buried deep in her sent folder, I found him. Theo. She referred to him as simply T. The emails began with discussions about art. But that quickly gave way to something else, something electric and unmistakably intimate. One message from him read, I can still feel your skin on my hands. I need you again. Her reply, Friday feels too far away. Mark blinked. Hard. Can you imagine reading something like that, about the person you've built your entire world around? He said, his voice tight. I was wrecked. But I didn't let it show. Not yet. That's when he began piecing everything together. I started digging into Theo's life, he said, his eyes narrowing. What I found. He was married. 2 kids. A spotless image, corporate consultant, family man, a life polished to perfection. But it was all smoke and mirrors. Mark hired someone to follow him. He collected it all. Photos, timestamps, locations. Not to destroy them, just to reveal them. To show them the mirror they never wanted to look into. He tapped the table, grounding himself in the memory. One weekend, I told Nora I had to fly out to Valencia for a last-minute business conference. She barely reacted, actually seemed relieved. I kissed her goodbye, wheeled my suitcase out the door, and parked just 3 streets away. As night fell, Theo arrived. Black car. Fresh flowers in hand. It looked like a scene straight out of a romance film, except this was my house. Mark's tone turned sharp, edged with ice. He walked in like he owned the place, like it was his home. I gave them time, let them settle in. Then, quiet as a shadow, he unlocked the front door. The living room was dim, soft music drifting through the air. They were curled up on the couch, glasses of wine in hand, giggling like teenagers. The moment they saw me, the air snapped still. Nora turned pale, eyes wide with panic. Theo froze, gripping his glass like it might protect him. Mark leaned back, his face unreadable. I didn't shout, didn't throw anything. I just placed a manila folder on the coffee table. Inside was everything. Photos, transcripts, receipts. Every lie, documented. And then he said just 3 words. Explain this now. Theo looked down. Nora broke. She burst into tears, babbling about feeling alone, confused, never intending for it to go that far. She begged. Said it was a mistake. That she still loved him. Mark looked her in the eye and said, You didn't just cheat. You torched our life and handed him the matchbook. Theo tried to slip past him, tried to disappear. But Mark blocked the door. You don't get to walk away from this, he told him. Eventually, Theo stumbled out like a man half drunk on guilt, half paralyzed by shame. Mark's voice grew quiet. That night, I slept in the guest room alone. First thing the next morning, I was in my lawyer's office. Presented everything. Nora had no defense. She lost the house, lost access to their finances. Their circle of friends turned their backs on her the moment they saw the truth laid bare. Mark didn't stop there. I made sure Theo's wife got every single piece of evidence. Within weeks, his entire life crumbled. His wife left. His firm severed ties. His perfect world gone. He let out a long breath. Some people call that revenge, he said. I call it justice. But even after all that, he didn't let the bitterness consume him. While packing up the home that once held so much history, he found a bundle of letters Nora had written but never sent. Pages of emotion, raw and unfiltered. Regret. Shame. Apologies she never had the courage to say out loud. She said she never stopped loving me, he murmured. And for a brief moment, I felt something close to grief, not for her, but for the version of our life that never got to exist. He stared off toward the window, voice low. But regret doesn't heal you. It just hangs in the air, like smoke after a fire, lingering in what's left of the ruins. He left it all behind. Now, he lives in a quiet apartment overlooking the Arno River in Florence. The mornings move slower. The wounds no longer sting like they used to. Mark once told me something I've never forgotten, I said, looking at him. Betrayal doesn't just break you, he said. It burns through the lies. And in the ashes, you finally find your truth. And damn, he was right.